Hello everyone, welcome. Today we're going to look at 11 essentials to consider when you are buying a traveler's notebook. Some background, I have been collecting and using traveler's notebooks for 10 years. I've learned a lot, and a few years ago I made a video called 12 Things I Wish I'd Known About Traveler's Notebooks as a Beginner. That video has become ridiculously popular. Over 200,000 people have watched it. And if you're one of them, thank you. I thought that it might be time for an update, and I also wanted to cover some considerations that I didn't list last time. So today we're going to talk about practical things like your budget and the number of bands inside the traveler's notebook, but we will also talk about issues like the integrity of the sellers out there. And I'd like to make clear that in most of these categories, I am not suggesting that one choice is better than another. It really is up to you. The fun of traveler's notebooks is that you get to mix and match. You get to decide which style suits your needs. You get to pick your colors. There are so many ways to customize the traveler's notebook experience. So I want you to do what's best for you. There are no rules here. I'm just offering some things to consider. I will, as per usual, put links in the description to any of the items that I talk about in case you would like to get something for yourself or a gift for someone else. And I will also put timestamps in the first pinned comment if you'd like to jump back and forth between the sections. So first of all, probably the most important consideration is what is your budget? Because you can spend anywhere from about $15 on a traveler's notebook all the way up to thousands, literally thousands. So on Amazon and Etsy, you can usually find things in the neighborhood of like $15, $20. Probably the average on Amazon is more like 40. Amazon's high point is probably somewhere around $50, but then if you move over to Etsy, you start getting, more independent sellers, artisans, and those can be anywhere from $15 to up to like $200. Amazon and Etsy are really great sources for starter TNs. Even just something like this that isn't leather, it's not a very complicated design or anything, but it's a good way to just see if you're even interested in the format before you invest in it. Then you move on to small artisans that have their own shops, Apple Pig, Speckled Fawns, Chic Sparrow, that kind of thing. And for those, you're looking at more like $80 to maybe $180, depending on what customizations you get. And then we get up to things like Louise Carmen and Giglio and some of the other really popular high-end brands, and they can be closer to $200 to $400, just kind of off the shelf. But then there's another level. Some people will, and I'm not judging. I don't know that I would do this myself, but there are people who will travel to Japan so that they can get some kind of limited edition traveler's notebook straight from traveler's company. So they were literally get on a flight and fly to Tokyo. And then there are also people who will get on a flight and fly to Paris to have the whole experience of buying a customized Louise Carmen in the actual shop. And once you start considering the cost of the TN plus the flight plus the hotel plus you have to buy macarons when you're in Paris, oh my goodness. So think about your budget. Think about whether you'd like to start off with something really simple and low cost just to try it out. And you might find that that's enough for you. A lot of times people will try something like a Newestor or September leather for about $40 on Amazon, thinking it's just going to be a trial to see if they like the system, and they end up keeping it forever. And that's their everyday TN for all the time for, $40. All right, how long can you wait? So we're in this world of Amazon Prime where you can go shopping on your phone, you can click a button, and by the next morning, something will be on your doorstep. So you can order traveler's notebooks from Amazon and have them come potentially overnight. The next level would be from Etsy or an indie seller who offers what you call ready to ship. And that means they've already made it. It's sitting on their shelf, and they just have to go through the process of packaging it and sending it to you. And that usually takes roughly a week within the US. And then the next level is custom made, where they have samples of what they made before, and you give them your ideas, and there's maybe even a back and forth process with design. And eventually, sometimes months later, the traveler's notebook arrives at your door. And honestly, it's typically worth the wait, but think about your timeline, especially if you are ordering for a gift or if it's something that you plan to take like on a vacation, literally as a traveler's notebook. Will it arrive in time? And consider that there might be, shipping delays along the way. There are things that are out of control of the sellers themselves. So anywhere from overnight to months, depending on where you're shopping. The next thing to consider is, do you care about integrity? And this is a touchy subject, but travelers' notebooks are made everywhere, from small artisan studios in places like Connecticut and North Carolina and Taiwan, to bigger but still family-owned businesses like Travelers Company in Japan, all the way up to big conglomerates that are running factories in China, all the way to, and I'm going to say this gently, liars. There are sellers out there on Amazon and on Etsy and on their own websites who will tell you that an item is made in a certain country, and it's not. It's actually made in China. And it's sold by 25 other quote-unquote small businesses who drop ship the same items. And the more you shop for traveler's notebooks, you'll start seeing these coincidences. Gosh, that design looks a whole lot like that design. Wow, they use the same model. And then they'll have these about sections that talk about how they learned leather crafting from their grandmother. And the more you read it, the more you hear the AI speak. You hear the Chat GPT speak. You realize these are just a dime a dozen, and they're drop shipping. And yeah, they might be in a certain country, but the traveler's notebook certainly didn't start there. So do you care about integrity? Do you care who you are working with? Do you care where the items come from? Do you care how they are made? Do you care whether the workers are treated well? Those are things to consider. Okay, next, do you want real leather or not? And this is where we can get more visual. So real leather will last indefinitely with care. It smells good, at least to some of us. It feels good in the hand. And importantly, it stains easily. So that is a consideration. How are you going to use this? Do you care if it gets marked up? A lot of the fun of a leather traveler's notebook is the patina that it develops over time from use. It kind of, it gets some battle scars as it goes with you. If you want that, then get leather, real leather. What about PU leather, fake leather? Well, it's much cheaper. It will typically break down at some point, and it can be an issue if you have sensitive skin. Sometimes if you are sensitive to PU products, it can just not feel good. You almost get like an RLS feeling, like restless leg, except in your fingers from working with plastic all the time. But other people have no problem with that at all. It's less expensive. It's easy to clean off because usually if you dribble something like water or iced tea on it, you can just wipe it right off. So PU leather absolutely has its benefits. There are alternatives out there now. There are traveler's notebooks made with cork. There are TNs made with fabric and vintage quilts. There are TNs made with reusable grocery bags. That is my favorite lately. I'm about to do a review video of a TN that is made by a sweet shopkeeper on Etsy. She's in Connecticut, and she makes traveler's notebooks out of shopping bags, like from Trader Joe's. So cool. So do you want real leather, or would you like to consider one of the alternatives? Another thing to consider that's right in line with leather is what color fits your lifestyle. And I say that because when you get the pretty leather colors that are like, baby pink and that soft buttercream color, they are fashionable. But what will you do the first time that you get a pen mark on that leather? And especially if you've spent a lot for it, how is that going to make you feel? Darker colors like this definitely wear better over time. And brown is classic. It is the most widely available. There are different shades of brown ranging from like a dark espresso to a lighter caramel color. But I personally tend to gravitate for the traveler's notebooks that I'm going to carry around all the time. I gravitate toward a brown, and specifically a darker brown, because I can mess it up a little bit more. It gives me more leeway to be a little klutzy. What size fits your needs? Let's get out some paper samples so you can see the differences in these sizes. Okay, so let's talk about available sizes, and I'm going to go from the tallest to the shortest. We're going to go based on height here. And if I move these aside, the biggest that I personally have seen is letter size, or similarly A4. You can actually find great big traveler's notebooks like this. This is B5, which is very close to the size of a typical composition book. Then you have A5, and A5 differs because you can have like an A5 slim, you can have an A5 that's like 5.5 inches wide, you can have a traditional A5, sometimes they'll call that wide or extra wide. So you really have to pay attention to the measurements for the inserts that you intend to use, and then what inserts the traveler's notebook accepts. But this is essentially the size of an A5. And then probably the most popular and the original is the standard or regular size, which is the height of an A5, but more narrow. It's like 4 3/8 of an inch or something like that wide. Then we get a little shorter. This is a B6. A little smaller than that is an A6. Even smaller, now we're getting into your pocket size. And depending on how many inserts you put in the TN, you might actually be able to fit this in a jacket pocket. And then there's this itty bitty one, the Passport, which is even smaller. And believe it or not, there are really, really tiny ones. There's one called a Nano that is approximately the size of like a little business card. And then there's itty bitty teeny weeny little miniature traveler's notebooks that are out there as well. So lots of opportunities. I would say in general, these bigger ones like the letter size, the A4, the B5 composition, and even the A5. So from here up, I typically would keep for something that's going to stay on a desk. They are not very versatile as far as carrying with you all the time. From standard or regular size, that seems to be the most versatile with the most insert choices that are available. It can get heavy if you load your traveler's notebook with 5 or 6 inserts, but overall, it's probably the most versatile. And then the smaller ones, A6, B7, these two, those are really easy to pop into a tote bag or a backpack. And then the Pocket and the Passport and the itty bitty Nano that's out there, those can be really good for just sliding in a pocket and going on a hike. So think about what size is going to fit your needs and understand that you don't have to decide on just one. Maybe you have a larger one that you keep at home on your desk, and then you have a tiny one which pops in your purse. Next, we should talk about the bands, not rock bands. How many bands do you want inside your traveler's notebook? Because they come anywhere from 1 to, gosh, I've seen some with like 8 bands inside. I've also seen traveler's notebooks with 0. Although theoretically, the point of a traveler's notebook is that you can mix and match these inserts, so you need something to hold them. So usually the definition of a traveler's notebook is that it's going to have a band involved. But there are some out there with none. There are folio style, where the notebooks just slide into the back or the front covers. And there have been more recently ring bound. They're fairly new to the TN world. They bridge the gap between a Filofax and a traveler's notebook, so it has the rings like a Filofax, but it's soft and cushy leather, floppy leather, like a traveler's notebook. Okay, so let's talk about why the number of bands matters. So this one is a very popular TN. These are from Wanderings. You can get them on Amazon and Etsy. I'll put links in the description. And when you open this up, you'll see it has pockets, first of all. But it has technically 2 bands, but only one is truly useful. The one behind is basically the resistance, and you have to really stretch it in order to get an insert on there. So typically you're just going to use the longer band, and you would put your insert in like this. Okay, so I'm going out and I have one insert, super minimalist, but it comes with an extra band. And so you take 2 additional inserts, you prepare them, and you put one through the back like this. And all right, now you have 3, except do you see how some of them are sticking out further than others? And then back here, what happens when you only have one real band is that these 3 inserts end up sort of jostling for position. And if I add even more extension bands, and now I've got 4 or 5 or even 6 inserts, there's really nowhere for those spines to go. So they end up kind of wrapping around each other, and you end up having to kind of push the middle insert in as you close it to bring it back so that it's even, if that matters to you. So I just don't like the way these have to jostle. So if you're only going to have one insert, or maybe even just 2 or 3 really, really, really slim ones, you can get away with this. But the more you start adding, I think it's better to use a TN that has more bands. So let's look at how that works instead. So this is a custom traveler's notebook from Speckled Fawns. Hello, Terry. Terry is in North Carolina, and she makes these fantastic TNs. And this one, by the way, is called Striation Nation, described as buttery, full-grained, warm caramel. It's gorgeous, and it feels so good. All right, anyway, it has kind of 3 really useful bands, and then it has this extra one, which is the one where the knot is tied. And this is common anytime that you have like 4 bands like this. One of them is going to be sort of extra. And this is true also for Newestor or September leather, which is a common brand that you'll find on Amazon. So when I have all these extra bands, what I can do is space out the traveler's notebook inserts. So this one goes here. This one goes here. Everybody gets their own band. And if I wanted to, I could add an extra band pulled around the one that has the knot and add 2 more inserts in here. But in any case, see how now they don't jostle for position. They line up nice and evenly across the back. And then when you go to open them, you can see I've done some paper samples here. But when you go to open it, everybody just kind of has its own space and sits there nicely, and they don't kind of like fall on top of the other one and jostle. So I personally prefer TNs that have additional bands from the start so that you don't have to squish in your inserts to try to fit more into a TN that was ideally only designed for 1 or 2. Do you want pockets? So a typical traveler's company traveler's notebook will not have pockets. It's just a piece of leather which holds inserts. It's a slim profile. It can be considered elegant. It's lightweight, and it's easier if you are actually going to travel with your traveler's notebook. It's also floppy, and that can make it more difficult for writing. So many custom like this from Speckled Fawns or straight off the shelf from Newestor or September Leather or Wanderings, they will have card pockets. and folio pockets so that you can turn your traveler's notebook into a wallet. And these pockets also add stability if you're going to be writing in your traveler's notebook a lot. So I personally write on my lap all the time. Like 99% of the time that I'm making entries in my notebook, I'm sitting somewhere and I have it on my lap. And so this extra bit of leather, or in this case, when you have card pockets and you get 2 layers of extra leather, it provides more stability. So I personally prefer this. A lot of people don't though. A lot of people say, no, 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 that's too bulky. I just want it to be the one slim piece of leather and that's it. So consider, do you want pockets or not? Next, how will you carry your pens? So Traveler's Company famously does not have a pen loop. You can purchase a pen loop, which is something that clips on. Some people find that functional. The other thing you can do, like Wanderings, they don't have any pen loops. You can take this little thing that is designed to protect the edges. You can pull it around like this, and you can put your pen in the loop. And that way you essentially have a pen holder on the front. It's a little bit floppy. Your pen tends to move around a lot, but it is absolutely possible. Then you have traveler's notebooks that do actually have pen loops included. So this one is from Newestor or September Leather, which is available on Amazon, and it actually includes a pen loop. And this one is pretty chunky right now. I'm using it as an archive. It has like 7 inserts in it, but you can see that you can either put your pen inside the loop like this as it's designed and just have one pen, and then this wraps around, and that pen is not going anywhere. That is totally secure, okay? Or you can do what I like to do and carry 2 pens. You take the clip and you pop it in backwards on the loop, and then let's pretend that this is my brush pen that I always have with me, and it goes like this, and now I have 2 pens, and the closure comes around like this and holds that sturdy, and there you go. So I think it's really nice to have pen loops included. Some people do find them annoying. It's really up to you. The other thing you can do is get a traveler's notebook which has a front pocket. So this one, again, like I said, is from Speckled Fawns, and you can either put your pens inside the pocket fully, like this, and close it and you're ready to go. Or you can do what I typically do, because I don't want to bend the leather out of shape too much. I will turn those pens around, use the clip, have it go like this, and close it. So this would be the front pocket style of having a way to hold your pens. And then there's even another one. So this beautiful A5 traveler's notebook, which is custom, is from Apple Pig Leather. Ting is just a fantastic leather craftsman. He's based in Taiwan. He is in a very, very, very small little leather shop, and he takes your ideas. So you go to Ting and you say, well, here's what I've seen on your website. Here's what I've seen in reviews that are on Etsy from when he had an Etsy shop. I'll put links to those in the description. And you look at what he's got available and you say, hey, I'd like this combination of colors of the leather, or I'd like this combination of pockets. And you end up with things like this. Look how this opens out like this. Isn't this amazing? So it's got the 4 bands. It has many, many pockets, both folio style, even like this. There's even hidden pockets like this. And when you have one that has pieces that fold like this, you can put your pens in the fold. So clip one here, clip here, and you've got 2 pens securely fastened onto your TN. They're not going anywhere. No need for a pen loop, no need for a front pocket. You just pop them into the creases. Okay, The other option is, let's say you're using something like an A5 and you've got maybe like a moleskin large size where you've got a gap here. You can pop your pen on that gap and use that as a pen holder. And then it closes like this. So if you're using inserts that are slightly more narrow than the cover is intended for, then you've got a way to carry your pens. So there's many, many, many different ways to carry your pens, but you might want to consider how you'll do that as you look, you look at a traveler's notebook and gosh, you think it's just the prettiest color you've ever seen, and the maker seems like a really nice person and you're ready to invest. Think about where your pens are going to go before you click buy. Another thing is charms. Yes, they can be pretty. They really are pretty. I like seeing them in the pictures. However, if you're sensitive to noise, think about this. So a lot of the charms usually go like here. So you'll have grommets and then you attach your charms onto the elastic here like this. And they look really pretty on the edge. It's basically jewelry for your traveler's notebook. Sometimes you can also put them on the closure band that comes across. And so they'll be here on the front. And they really do look beautiful in pictures. But think about it from a practical point of view. If you're going to be working on a desk or a table, or like at a coffee shop at a table, you're going to be working a lot like that. And you put down your TN and you open it, and now you've got these charms underneath here. So the TN is not going to fit necessarily flat, and it might make that clinking sound from having those metallic charms on it. So do consider how sensitive you are to noise and how sensitive you are to having kind of something bulky now on the outside of the traveler's notebook, behind the spine or behind the cover as you open it. And then finally, do you want your traveler's notebook to be personalized? You can see here, I've shown you a lot of TNs today. I've got my apple pig, I've got some speckled fawns here, I've got some wanderings and Newestor or September leather from Amazon. And you notice something? I don't have personalization on any of them. I don't have my name in gold on any of these. This Wanderings one has a compass because that is their brand, and they put it on the bottom right corner of their TNs. But I don't have anything engraved. Yes, it can be absolutely beautiful. It looks really striking in the photos, but do consider that it's really common to decide if you prefer a different size or format moving down the road. And if yours has your name personalized, that makes it harder to sell or trade or hand down to a friend or a family member later. If you really want pretty gold lettering, and I admit it is gorgeous, consider maybe a mantra like hope or dream or wanderlust, or I don't know, whatever makes you happy. Consider putting something like that on it that would be more universal than your initials. That's just my 2 cents. All right, hopefully you found something in here helpful, and I would encourage you in the comments section to please let me know if there's anything else that you have considered as you went shopping for traveler's notebooks. What would you recommend that we keep in mind? Thank you very, very much for joining me today. If you did find this useful, please click like and subscribe and share and all that good stuff so the algorithm brings you back around to me. Come back and see me again for more planning and journaling. Anything to do with making your paper look pretty. That's what I'm about. Thank you, and enjoy your own journaling journey. Bye-bye.